Taken to the 111th Precinct to be charged in this big gang plot case, David Import Jr., also known as Lil Tony, and Dixon Jr., also known as Smack, are being charged with murder in Durham, North Carolina. Lil Tony and Smack were in the notorious 8-track gangsters Crips gang, but they weren't like other boys from the neighborhood. Thugs, they did a lot of illegal things like killing rival gang members, selling drugs, and stealing money from banks. On the side, Davenport was in a rap group called the 83 Babies, which was named after the 8-tray gangster Crips. Their music praised the gang lifestyle, which included drugs and guns. Things turned violent when members of a rival gang attacked Davenport in a mall and shared a video of the attack on Instagram. Davenport and Dixon got together with some gang friends like Duval Niggy Magwood, aka Paco, and came up with a plan to get back at their rivals. On that fateful day, they drove to a place where their rivals often went with guns drawn. Davenport, Dixon, and Magwood thought Zion Person, a 9-year-old boy sitting in his aunt's car with 4 other kids on their way to get snow cones, was someone else. They thought the car belonged to a rival gang member, especially the person Davenport had threatened on Instagram the day before. Without giving it a second thought, they started fire, shooting the car many times. A hailstorm of gunfire hit Zion in the head, killing him and hurting his 8-year-old cousin. This happened just over 3 years after 9-year-old Zion was shot and killed near this intersection in Durham. Authorities had their eyes on Davenport because he was wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor, because he was facing domestic violence charges. There was a lot of evidence against him, including location data that put him at the murder scene, surveillance footage that showed his car following the victim's car, and even a gun that was linked to the crime. Mr. Davenport, you are charged with first-degree murder of Zion Person on August 18, 2019, found a plot to commit murder. As if their crimes weren't bad enough, the outrage in court will shock you. During the trial, Dixon pleaded guilty to murder and conspiracy to commit racketeering. Davenport was found guilty of murder and discharging a firearm during a violent crime. Both men were given life sentences and showed no signs of regret. But this wasn't the only time a thief got a term that felt like justice. Case of Denzel Guante. This is Sean Denzel Guante, who is facing various charges in Roanoke, including plot to commit murder. Virginia Guerrero used to be the head of the Roland 30s Crips gang in Roanoke, and he had a history of getting into trouble. Guerrero, who was also known as Harlem Dunk, and his other suspects were members of the Roland 30s gang. Crips gang, which also went by the name Dirt Gang, led another gang member to commit a crime in early June 2017. Another rival gang followed them, and things quickly went bad. Soon Mac, a member of the Rolling 30s gang, chased down the other rival gang member and shot him twice in the back, killing him. The 30-year-old Garage pleaded guilty to a racketeering conspiracy charge that included murder and another conspiracy to commit homicide. Also involved in a lot of shady things, like frats and violent acts, his gang made a 17-year-old kill someone as a cruel way to punish him for breaking the rules and not being loyal to the gang. A Roanoke man who used to be in charge of a gang is facing life in jail. Sean Guerin pleaded guilty to several federal charges. He admitted that he and 3 others were involved in killing a 17-year-old girl in 2017 and making other threats. All the men were part of the Roman 30s gang, which ran out of a house in the Lansdowne neighborhood. Garant is currently in jail on state charges of evading arrest and theft. He agreed to serve those sentences along with the 37-year sentence he will get for pleading guilty. Since he is only 30, he won't be able to get parole until he is 67 years old. Garant didn't feel bad about what he did, but some prisoners go out of their way to. Stanley Tookie Williams, born in 1953 in New Orleans, became famous as a gangster after helping to start the Crips gang. Born in a humble home, Williams moved to the mean streets of Los Angeles at a young age, where he learned to fight neighborhood bullies and make his mark in a place filled with violence, drugs, and no parental supervision. He enjoyed acting like pimps and drug sellers, and skipped school to learn more from the streets. During this time, Williams met his partner in crime, Raymond Washington, and they formed the Crips gang in 1969 to protect their neighborhood from other gangs. However, Raymond was shot and killed in 1979, starting a bloody war between the two gangs. In 1981, Williams and 3 other gang members committed a horrific crime, robbery and murder, of 26-year-old Albert Owens. In 1981, Williams broke into the Brookhaven motel office and killed 3 members of a Taiwanese family. He was put on trial and found guilty. He was given the death penalty for all 4 murders and 2 counts of robbery and sent to San Quentin State Prison. But after a couple of years on death row, something amazing began to happen. Tookie began to think about the choices he had made in his life and began to seek redemption and make amends. He found comfort in his newfound spirituality and became an outspoken advocate against gang violence, working with others to break the cycle that hurts the hearts of our moms, fathers, and people who have lost loved ones to his pointless violence. Reading books to stop gang crime. The former gangster changed his ways and wanted to help others avoid going down the same road he did. He got backing from strange places. Members of the Swiss parliament even put him forward for Tookie, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize 6 times, begged for mercy. But his appeals were turned down. On December 13, 2005, he was put to death by lethal injection, leaving behind a legacy that is still hotly debated today. Tookie may have used his last days to push for change and become a new person, but not all gangsters share those views. This is Antonio Simmons, the self-proclaimed kingpin of the 9 Trey Gang, Gangsters Bloods Gang, which is being charged with murder in Norfolk, Virginia, in December 2015, was like something out of a horror movie. 5 people were killed, and 4 others were shot in 7 separate shootings across almost every city in Southampton roads. These guys didn't pick and choose who they killed. Most of the victims had nothing to do with the gang. Tragically, 2 mothers and a grandmother, killed with her boyfriend, were caught in the crossfire. Antonio was found guilty of killing 2 people during the crimes he planned. As if that wasn't bad enough, Anthony Foyer, also known as Ace, and Nathaniel Mitchell, also known as Savage, were competing in a twisted game to see who could kill the most people. The proof showed that Mitchell killed a woman who was just going home from work at the airport 4 days before Christmas. Antonio was proud of the killings his trigger-happy friends had done. Things went from bad to worse when Antonio told his crew to kill high-ranking members of a rival gang. When they couldn't find their targets, they went for the next best thing, a man at his house. But here's the shocking part. When a woman answered the door and said their target wasn't there, they shot her 6 times. Luckily, someone came to help right away. Antonio Mitchell and his accomplices, including Savage, Ace, and Bull, were found guilty of various crimes, including murder, drug dealing, and witness tampering after a 7-week trial. Mitchell was saved by local EMTs and the Portsmouth Police Department, but the thugs continued to shoot at witnesses before robbing a gas station lobby. After a long, hard-fought hearing, they were caught and sentenced to life plus 60 years. Demetrius Divine, the leader of several well-known gangs, led several gangs, including the Gangsta Killer Bloods, GMB, the Black Mob Gangsters, BMG, and the Donald G. Family Girlfriend. These gangs were powerful forces that made rivals afraid and united law-abiding citizens. Their boss, Demetrius, was involved in all of this, ordering the shooting of a 16-year-old boy and even beating people he thought were not loyal. Demetrius also took part in gang initiations and threatened gang members when they were called to testify in a federal case. Divine's neck was permanently tattooed with the words "violent pursuit of power, money, and respect" to find the gangsters. Demetrius Divine, a member of the Bloods gang, was found guilty of several charges including racketeering murder, drug sales, and witness intimidation. He received 4 life terms and an extra 240 months in jail. Demetrius's actions may have been influenced by his bad environment. Another gang member, Anthony Zottola, was rearrested after being charged with murder and attempted murder for hire. He was guilty of killing his brother Salvatore with a gun and seriously hurting him. Salvatore survived 5 gunshots in July 2018. In October 2018, Anthony and his partner Hyman Ross took a dark turn in their family story when they hired a gang of hitmen to kill his father and brother Salvatore. Anthony wanted to take over the family's multi-million-dollar real estate empire and hired a hitman led by co-conspirator Bushon Shelton. Sean Shelton, who had a day job, was caught within a week and began a year-long violent spree against Sylvester and Salvatore Zottola. They stalked, beat, and cut Sylvester, leaving him in constant fear without knowing who was responsible. Salvatore was shot in the head, chest, and hand right in front of his home, but fortunately, he lived through the attack. On the day of reckoning, Ross tracked Sylvester Zottola to a Bronx McDonald's drive-thru and shot and killed Zottola multiple times, demonstrating the precision of the hit. After the trial, there was doubt about Anthony's participation. The jury didn't believe Anthony's story, and they found him and Ross guilty of murder for hire, plot to commit murder for hire, and firearms crimes. They got what was coming to them, and they were sentenced to life in jail plus an unbelievable 112 years. If you thought these emotions were shocking, watch this video of killers pleading for forgiveness in court.